Welcome into the Ringerverse. This is, of course, the Ringers Nexus podcast feed for all things fandom. We are Jomi, the explainer. Adeniran, you've got questions. He's got answers. We are Steve, the architect, Ahlman, the builder and tinkerer of things. We are Old Man Van, he of the receding, resurgent hairline. We are Coke, Baby Chuck, the 24-karat closer, also known as the brunch hottie. Together, we are known as the Midnight Boys. All right, listen. Chuck is joining us from the Weeb mansion.
Actually, absolutely not. He's joining us from our legal headquarters in Gotham City.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have is it a bird or a plane flu? So.
Oh wow, you don't even know. Tough. You have no clue. A lot of people are getting sick. Rachel got sick.
Oh no.
Changed her whole voice. Rachel went from like she was like Jeezy.
All right.
Yeah, she was. Changed her whole voice. It wasn't great. She gets sick a lot. Hey. I'm going to tell you guys who that voice is over there in a second. You guys are going to love it. Special guest joining us today. Yeah, Rachel, she parties too much. She drinks a lot. Okay. So follow us on socials. Insta, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok has been saved. Jomi is very proud that his president did that.
Thank you for your
Jomi's job has been saved. Jomi?
Hey, continue to follow us. Hey, we're doing great on Instagram right now. The people are loving it. Your video, the taco video, got 1 million views, man.
That's my legacy.
That's your legacy, man. That's what people remember you for.
Burrito in my pocket.
Keep following, keep liking.
We're on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Watch the shit on YouTube.
Especially this one.
Yeah, this one for sure.
Particularly this one. Watch it on YouTube. You guys, if you're listening right now, you're not going to get the full experience of what it is we're doing today. You can watch every Midnight Boys and House of R episode on youtube.com/@Ringerverse. Tomorrow, Button Mash returns to talk about the new season of Mythic Quest. What the fuck is that?
You never watched Mythic Quest?
No.
It's a very good show.
It's a
Apple
very
TV
good
Plus. That's that service that everybody has.
What is it?
It's a show about a video game company and like the relationship.
All right, no free ads. Let's get to the fucking
No, it's
trial.
not free ads. They're doing.
God
What are you
damn.
talking about?
We're
They're-
That's what we're
Covering the
talking
show.
about. Ads for our show.
Yeah, season 4 premiered.
What do you
We're
mean?
going
They're
to talk
doing
about
it
the
on the
first
thing.
2 episodes. Yeah.
See, that was out of place. Shouldn't have said that. Like what? I don't care about what the show's about.
Great.
Okay. Later on this week, House of R gives you their pod celebrating the 15th anniversary of Ex Machina.
Banger movie.
What a fucking fantastic movie. Voice from the Beyond. What are your thoughts about Ex Machina?
Modern classic.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
What is the Alex? What's the top?
It's probably that and 28 Days Later for me.
Voice from the Beyond.
I really like Civil War.
Oh, really?
Oh,
You put
all right.
Civil War
In
over
this climate?
you put Civil War over Ex Machina?
Civil War was my #1 movie of last year.
Wow.
Oh.
Chuck,
I like how he's putting bass in this voice.
what's your Alex Garland top?
I'm not really a Garland head. I'm okay.
What do you like?
We've been trying to answer that for 4 years.
God damn, bro.
Okay.
Jeez.
Okay. On Friday, Mid Edition returns to talk about Disney Plus's premiere of the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yes.
Wow, it's a good show.
You're going to find out. We have yet to see the premiere,
Yeah,
but
we watched it.
it's already making waves.
Yeah, people are liking it, I guess.
Is that Spider-Man MAGA?
Kinda.
He looks like he might be
A little
mad.
bit.
Seems a little bit.
Yeah, it's not what you want.
Yeah. But on today's show, we're taking you back to Midnight Court to discuss who shall retain custody of Batman. It's a Gunn versus Reeves Midnight Court custody battle. Give me the sound effect for Midnight Court right now.
Playing that.
That's it. I'm done. I'm not running the show anymore because right now, presiding over the Midnight Court, we have a special guest, the Honorable Chris Ryan of Philadelphia will be presiding over this Midnight Court. Judge Ryan, take it away.
This is the case of Reeves versus Gunn for the custody of the Cape Crusader, also known as Bruce Wayne, also known as Winged Justice, also known as the Dark Knight, also known as Batman. Representing Reeves will be attorneys Steve and Charles. Representing Gunn will be Van and Jomi. We'll begin with opening arguments. Is the Gunn team ready to present?
We are.
Continue.
Your Honor, opposing counsel. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we all know why we're gathered here today, and that is to discuss if the character of Batman should be in the hands of Matt Reeves or James Gunn. Our opposing counsel will try to convince you that the house of Matt Reeves is the best place for Batman, and that will not be the case. A house is hollow, filled with empty space and unfilled purpose. A house is bland, without character and without promise. A house without the full guarantee of a loving, caring, and supportive family inside of it is useless. Yeah. And that will be the future of Batman if left in the hands of Matt Reeves. Oh, wow. My co-counsel and I will use facts, evidence, and testimony to prove without a shadow of a doubt that the best spot for Batman's future is with James Gunn, because the undeniable and simple truth is this. Matt Reeves would like to give Batman a house. James Gunn would give Batman a home. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you very much, counsel. Is the opposing counsel ready to present?
We are, Judge. Your Honor, distinguished colleagues, opposing counsel, I stand before you today to argue the rightful custody of the Batman franchise to remain in the capable hands of one Mr. Matt Reeves. This is not merely a matter of creative preference, but a case preserving the integrity, legacy, and future of the most iconic characters in all of comic books and fiction itself. Just because one buys a new home simply doesn't make it a home. Woo! James Gunn may have the purse strings, but he certainly doesn't have the emotional heartstrings. Today, we're going to be presenting evidence and clear creative precedent that Matt Reeves has retained and shall retain throughout his tenure to finish the story that he began, as well as proving beyond a shadow of the doubt that he is the true and rightful guardian of this orphaned young boy. I yield my time.
God damn. Hell yeah, Steve.
All right, well, we'll begin with some questions for both of these groups of attorneys. Now, for the Gunn team, it's great to see you guys. You know, I know that we spend a lot of time in bars together outside of court.
Like all good lawyers and judges should.
For Jomi, I would just note that this is a bench trial and not a jury trial. So you're playing to the audience. You're only playing to an audience of one.
Wow.
Interesting. It's not what it says in the doc, but
damn.
Well,
that's what it says in the doc.
I guess my question is to you, Van.
Yeah.
Should Batman belong to any one person? Is it not a big enough tent that we can have multiple expressions of this character? And why would we be doing this trial in the first place when it seems like we can support multiple Jokers, we can support multiple takes on many characters? Should Batman not be public domain?
It's a good question. It's at the core of our argument is the question. So Batman exists in many different iterations, and his existence, the character's existence in those iterations is core to the telling. You need an animated Batman. You need Batman in the comic books. You need multiple different storylines of Batman in the comic books. But I'll say this, for the medium of film itself, you need one presiding and prevailing vision of the character. The reason why I would say this is because precedent shows us that if you have too many different iterations of Batman, if you have too many different versions of the character on film, I'm not talking about television, I'm talking about on film, it confuses the audience and it muddles what I believe is some of the greatest comic book lore that any character has ever had. So while you're right in terms of what we can have as a big tent for Batman, I'm talking about specifically here on film, whose creative vision should shepherd the character now and going forward.
Charles, I note with interest that James Gunn is not only a director on his own right, but is the president of the DC Cinematic Universe for DC Films. If he's the president, shouldn't he just get to decide what happens with the characters in the DC universe?
Your Honor, I'm glad you asked that. When we talk about Mr. Gunn, this is the type of greed that they talk about in the Bible. You know, at this point, his home is a chaotic one, if we can say the least. My client, Mr. Reeves, with the Batman, has made $700 million at the box office. Penguin has won multiple Emmys. And at this point, when we look at James Gunn's track record, with the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and Creature Commandos, I do think that it would not be in the child's best interest, Batman Jr., to go to a home that honestly is not ready to really give him what he needs. James Gunn has a full plate with Superman, Supergirl, Lanterns, Creature Commandos. And honestly, at this point, I'm very afraid for the child's well-being and think that if we're being totally honest, this is just Mr. Gunn's way to consolidate power when he really hasn't had many hits at the DC stable. Yeah. Thank you, Your Honor.
Jomi, he paints an interesting picture of a despotic ruler looking to consolidate intellectual property under one creative vision. What do you say to that?
So, I mean, it's just completely irresponsible, the words that are coming out of Mr. Holmes' mouth at this moment. First and foremost, DCU just getting started, right? The first movie hasn't been released, frankly.
Creature
And
Commandos has been released.
Movie.
Objection?
I just want to
Objection,
if you
Your
have an
Honor.
objection, you can make an objection, Charles.
Yeah.
But I will not
Apologies,
let
Your
this
Honor.
court fall into the same kind of chaos that the DC EU has fallen into. That's why we're here today, to figure out who is going to be running this franchise. And I
apologies,
won't
Your
have
Honor.
it. I won't have it. I won't have it.
Thank you. Thank you.
In a world of chaos, this will be order in this court. Jomi, continue.
Again, the first movie of the DCU hasn't even come out yet. And frankly, people enjoyed Peacemaker. People enjoyed Creature Commandos. So to your point of where, it's a miss, you just made that up. That's coming out of air, okay? James Gunn has a solid track record, which we will prove in this trial, that makes him the best place for Batman's future.
Steve, I'm reminded of something that Jesse Eisenberg said while playing Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network. If you were the inventor of Facebook, you would have invented Facebook. If Matt Reeves wanted to continue his guidance, his authorship, frankly, of the Batman cinematic character, shouldn't he have gotten into production on a second film a little earlier?
Well, this is actually a very good and interesting point. Now, knowing that Mr. Gunn is actually in charge of the DCEU, he's actually given every resource that he could possibly imagine to theoretically help Mr. Reeves usher on that custody, if we would imagine. But in fact, if we look at his Threads account, who seemingly is keeping that platform alive for some reason, we don't really know why he hasn't given the resources to Mr. Reeves. He seems to be undermining him at every turn while he simply wants to pave the way for his own vision, while I'm sure that vision includes some adorable talking CGI dolphin that will then be killed and teach Mr. Wayne, the power of friendship. That's not exactly what Mr. Reeves has in mind for this character. And that is, in turn, the actual best interest of that. So if he, Mr. Gunn, were the actual, custodian of DC, he would allow this custody to continue.
Excuse me. This brings in to play my first piece of evidence.
Please.
Okay.
The court will acknowledge this as Exhibit A.
Exhibit A. The matter that opposing counsel has brought up places the delays, the ridiculous delays of the Batman sequel squarely in the court of James Gunn. However, according to Matt Reeves, that's not the reason for the delay. As he spoke to The Hollywood Reporter, when he was asked for reasons for the delay, his words were, because we're still finishing the script. There's so many things going on. Next year is very much about getting into production and getting the movie going, and we're very excited about it. It's follow up to 2022's The Batman was originally scheduled to arrive in October 2025. That is this year. Was then pushed back to October 2026. The new delay confirmed the film is taking 2 years longer than expected to hit theaters. You will get the next installment of Matt Reeves' The Batman in 2027.
Now, Van, I have a quick question. Is James Gunn the one writing the script?
No!
Oh, interesting.
That script is being written by Matt Reeves' team. I will tell you that the James Gunn has dealt with franchises like this before. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 came out in 2014. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out in 2017. The Suicide Squad movie came out in 2021. Guardians 3 came out in 2023.
Interesting. What delayed Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I wonder?
COVID.
Was it another social media account run by Mr. James Gunn?
Excuse me.
Was it another...
Your Honor.
We must have order. We're not litigating social media platforms here. We're litigating Batman.
Thank you.
It was a witch hunt, right? Matt Reeves is saying it's going to take 5 years between Batman sequels. 5 years. The only other time it took that long to get a new on-screen Batman is Batman and Robin, and that was because the last movie was trash. I'll tell you right now, if you're looking for a father and a father figure to custodian, to grow, to have this child of Batman grow and thrive, how can you have someone that abandons him for 5 years, his entire adolescence? I'm done.
Mr. Holmes, any response to this?
I would. According to Mr. Gunn, he said, quote, people have become beholden to release dates, to getting movies made no matter what. I'm a writer at my heart, and we're not going to be making movies before the screenplay is finished. That is what Mr. Gunn himself has said. Now, in my opinion, The Batman is the only movie that has worked over in that stable for years. James Gunn himself, so far, is very unproven. If he himself is saying that we cannot get these movies on screen until the screenplays are ready, you got to talk to the president. All right? Because if we're being real with Mr. Reeves, he's the only parent here that is making our company any money. A. And then B, I got a lot of Emmys in my closet from a little show called The Penguin that shows when you let Mr. Reeves cook. When you let Mr. Reeves cook.
Mr. Holmes, just out of curiosity, I believe you're on the record as being somewhat dubious of The Penguin's critical success.
Unfortunately, that is my twin brother who is a podcaster. Okay. My job is as a lawyer defending the rights of young children in Gotham who need it. I honestly have never even been on a podcast.
Objection, that's a lie. We'll come back to Mr. Holmes and the precarious position that he finds himself in defending this later. I just wanted to put that objection on the record.
Before, and my last question, and if I'm remembering correctly, I remember a Mr. Lathan for years claiming that the Batman was no good, the Batman was trash. And numerous times
that's not true.
Within the last year, not only saying that it is a great superhero movie, but saying that The Penguin is one of the greatest comic book TV shows of all time. So I find it very unusual that Mr. Lathan would then try to take my client and put him in the home of James Gunn, who has not made one of the greatest comic book TV shows of all time.
Am I allowed to respond?
You are, sir.
So the quality of the projects is not what we're litigating here.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The quality of the projects is not what we're talking about. We're talking about what place suits the Batman best. The Penguin is fantastic. The Batman, while it was an annoying experience in theaters, has grown on me. However, what I would tell you is that when you're dealing with comic book audiences and a character that needs an iteration on screen, the dedication to that character and the time that the audience has to wait is very paramount. Now, even if we look at Nolan's Batman, we're looking at 3 years apart between movies, able to maintain the force and the momentum of that character to audiences to a point where they don't forget about him. In a time that we live in right now, where people are so quick, short attention spans, 5 years is too long for this guy to be messing around with the Batman. I believe that James Gunn can deliver quality product. I believe that the Batman can have a cultural presence inside of the DCEU that means that audiences aren't forgetting and that audiences aren't losing patience with the character while he's gone.
Attorney Ahlman, how much should I be considering this honestly unacceptable delay in bringing the Batman sequel to audiences.
Well, you would argue that quality isn't under litigation here, but I would argue that it absolutely is. It's the reason that quality is so paramount to why this is so important for this character. The reason that these delays are occurring is so that we can deliver the absolute best product that the character deserves. Not something that's crunched out and churned out on some arbitrary deadline to make sure that people don't forget that Batman exists. God forbid. I don't think that we can have enough of that. I'm pretty sure that, the ways that Gunn and his team can operate, while sure can be effective, but we have a quality and distinct track record of excellence over here with Mr. Reeves. While he takes his own time and doesn't exactly respond to arbitrary deadlines set on by the studio system that is frankly in dire need of the success of the Batman to happen again. I think that the best interests of the character are served when that time is taken.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes.
We keep saying quality is not under litigation, and yet it keeps getting brought up by the Reeves team. And I just want everybody to remember who it is we're talking about.
Talking about James Gunn.
James Gunn, the director of the 3 Guardian films, The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and the Superman that's going to come out. These are projects that all of us are on record saying we enjoy. Every single one of us.
Yeah.
Not every single one of us. Objection, Your Honor. Objection. Not every single one of us.
Oh, so you're going to sit here and tell me Guardians 1, Guardians 3, didn't move you at all, not a fan.
Definitely not Guardians 2.
2, not great.
Omission
Peacemaker.
of Guardians 2 from the record, it seems.
Not great. Creature Commandos, nobody watched it.
Well, I would just say, by that token, if we're talking about specifically Counsel Holmes here, also you would say that the Penguin is not great. You said that the Penguin was Sopranos cosplay?
Also, didn't finish the series, if I recall correctly.
Well, to be fair, that was his twin brother.
Twin brother.
Well,
Yes.
no. But
I'm a lawyer.
That's a lie.
I'm defending children who you are trying to place in a chaotic
Excuse me.
home of disarray. And if we honestly want to go into some of the reasons that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was delayed, about some of the things that Mr. Gunn was saying about children,
Go for it. Which one?
Gentlemen, I think we're getting a little bit caught up here about things that we don't know. We don't know the quality of the second Batman from Matt Reeves. We don't know what Gunn would do yet. But one thing we do know is that Matt Reeves is singularly focused on the Batman. Whereas James Gunn has responsibilities to build the Batman into a larger DC cinematic universe. Mr. Lathan, has there been too much fatigue with cinematic universes? Are we asking people to pay attention to too many different storylines? Should we just give people the Batman and let them enjoy that and not have to have him fit into James Gunn's larger DC story?
This is what I would say about that. The results to that are unclear. I could point to two movies that stood out on their own without any other lore to anchor those movies. That would be Joker and Joker Folie à Deux. Now, while the first movie was critically acclaimed and enjoyed by a great many people,
A powerful portrait of male loneliness.
a powerful portrait of incel behavior, the second movie was actually weighed down by the fact that it had no deeper connection to any of the lore that it was representing. The second movie, in my opinion, was actually weighed down by the fact that there wasn't something bigger to it. It's also poorly made and very disrespectful to the audience. I'll grant you that. But I would say that right now, the appetites that people have are to see Batman existing in Batman and his Batmanness, but they're also to see worlds that exist beyond any one character. Now, once again, this is not that big of a deal if you can count on different aspects of the Batman being true to the character, which is why I would like to enter into evidence something else. This picture,
Exhibit B.
Exhibit B of Barry Keoghan as Joker. Now look, I'm gonna make a point here. The portrayal of Batman on screen, competent portrayals of Batman on screen, have always been tied to competent portrayals of Joker on screen. You have Nicholson in the Burton Batmans. You have Ledger in the Nolan Batmans. And then it gets a little shaky. It gets a little shaky after that when Jared Leto comes in and doesn't ground the character in the way that it should be grounded with his foil, his six-bit chance, his nemesis on the other side. The fact that this deleted scene of this terrible-looking Joker made it into the movie, then was taken out of the movie, shoehorned into the Batman movie that was already over 3 hours for no reason, tells me that there is a vision problem that Matt Reeves might have with the character.
I would argue that scene was deleted for a reason.
Excuse me. You do this all the time. Decorum, please. Okay? That the fact that this was shot, taken out, and then leaked online later tells you that as Matt Reeves gets deeper into this character, he is going to have a problem doing it justice. He is going to have a problem dealing with a lot of the weighty lore that Batman has to exist in. This picture of this ridiculous Joker, this guy was at the premiere, got cut out of the movie. Banshees of Inisherin didn't even help him get in the movie. It's terrible. Look, I'm telling you right now, this is a red flag. I entered this into the record as Exhibit B.
Mr. Ahlman, your response to the evidence, and I would caution you that does look like a Ring camera photo of a cat.
That does, indeed. And I would also argue that scene was deleted for a reason, and Matt Reeves does have the artistic foresight in the edit room to know what does and does not work. It does seem to me that James Gunn doesn't necessarily have that discipline. As I'm sure Charles Holmes would agree, I think we can say that maybe James Gunn is a bit too frivolous, loosey-goosey with the things that he allows in his movies for the sake of emotional imbalance rather than the sake of a coherent story. Co-counsel.
I also want to say that the Joker is not what's on trial here. What's on trial here, the question that Your Honor posed to us, okay, is whether we should have connected universes. And right now, Superman has not even come out. We do not know its box office receipts. We do not know whatever critical response will be. But what we do know is what the Batman, the Penguin, and the Reeves verse has done. And what I would say is that if you look at the home that James Gunn abandoned, the MCU currently in disarray. Why? Because they're a snake eating its own tail, trying to connect everything and trying to tell weighty, important stories first. Now, I'm not arguing that at another time, James Gunn, Matt Reeves, maybe they can share this child. But currently, as it speaks today, Reeves is the only parent responsible because he is the only person that has showed in the last 5-10 years that he can get a Batman movie off the ground, people interested in it, in their seats. James Gunn, not so sure about that. The only thing he's done with Batman is a little cartoon in Creature Commandos. Your Honor, have you seen Creature Commandos?
I have not, sir, but I do not watch
Exactly.
cartoons.
You're like the rest of America. Thank you.
Mr. Lathan, ultimately, I'm going to have to render some kind of judgment here deciding who gets custody of the Batman, but I would implore all counsel present, could this not be more of a mediation? Could we not foresee a third way where James Gunn, in his capacity overseeing the DC Cinematic Universe, works hand in hand with Mr. Reeves to both celebrate his creative vision of the character while also folding him into James Gunn's vision of the larger world story building that he's telling?
Listen, when there are two parents that are in a protracted custody battle, it's always better if these things don't make it to court. I think I could look at co-counsel and say, yeah, always better when these things don't make it to court. But I would caution you in looking at it that way because of the genesis of this problem. You see, this problem with Matt Reeves and his take on Batman didn't start with Matt Reeves. It started with its legacy to a different Batman. to the Ben Affleck Batman. Because this movie started off as a project for Jennifer Lopez's ex-husband. And then after they couldn't get this movie done with him, this film, this standalone Batman, which was originally his vision.
And he was going to direct.
Was going to direct, was going to write, was going to star. It then ended up in Matt Reeves' possession, where Matt Reeves is now trying to reimagine what somebody else had in line for their career. So the question then becomes, is Matt Reeves willing to give the character of Batman to the DC watching public? Is he willing to share the character with Superman, with Wonder Woman, with Aquaman, with Lobo, with the Creature Commandos, which currently has a tremendous rating from the critics? Is Matt Reeves willing to do that, or is he taking a view of the character that is grounded in the fact that this is my Batman, that I have Batman, that it's only for me? That's a question for opposing counsel, not a question for us.
Well, I'm actually glad that you brought that up because I would like to enter our third piece of
Oh,
evidence.
absolutely. I noticed that all the evidence is coming from only one side of the desk here.
I mean, some of us
This guy's
prepared
serious.
and did the work.
Well, some of us also asked Aleya to print out a page 5 minutes before. You're
Oh, that's unprepared.
Passing the buck.
Yeah. Hey,
Passing the buck.
Make sure we
What is
write
going
that
on?
down.
how
Make
much
sure we write that
evidence
down.
is a
Oh,
printed
it'll
out
be
picture.
entered into the record.
It'll be entered into the record.
Thank you. Does anybody, I'm just going to ask for everybody remember a little old film called Justice League 2017? Anybody?
I remember it.
I do remember that film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not a good one, if I recall correctly, right? We now have the opportunity to see a story where Batman, like you mentioned, can be in a world with Superman, with Wonder Woman, with Aquaman.
Yeah.
And you guys want to take that away from us. Frankly, this is selfish.
Right. We're
For the fans, for the comic book people who have wanted to see a proper Justice League for years in live
This
action.
is cooking.
And y'all do not want that.
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor. I thought that Mr. Adeniran has been saying this entire time that this is not about quality, but it seems like you're talking about the quality of a film that has long since passed.
I'm not talking about the quality of a film. What I am talking about is the fact that the fans deserve to see their beloved characters interact on a stage that we have not seen well done in live action ever.
Mr. Ahlman, are we not thinking about the fans here enough?
We of course are thinking about the fans. And in a perfect world, we would always like to share some sort of creative vision and custody with to serve a greater vision to help comic book fans all around the world see the things that, like Mr. Adeniran said, would be amazing. I don't think that world has fully been established yet. And I'd like to hold off on the potential custody of surrendering that character until Mr. Gunn has proven himself capable of doing that. We're not doubting the fact that things can't be done. It's more so if those can be done in a way that we see fit.
A way that you see fit. Well, I'll caution all counsel that we wade into choppy waters when we start talking about appealing to the fans. Because I dare say that while we're trying to decide between Reeves and Gunn here, if we went to the fans, it would likely be Zack Snyder. We would likely have Snyder.
Snyderverse.
Objection, relevance.
Snyderverse. Snyderverse, the whole situation.
Mr. Lathan.
Yeah.
I struggle to see this noir, complicated, very, very anxious character in the candy-colored world of James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
Paint me a picture of how Batman works in a world of pop art, bubblegum, friendship, James Gunn's palette.
He works as a contrast. That Batman works as a contrast. Look, Batman works a lot better when the character has a very simple directive. I think that when we look at past iterations of Batman that didn't work, it was when there was some ambiguity about what the character represented. Batman, I think he works best when he stands as a counterbalance to that vision that you're talking about. When he stands as the other side, as the demon that lurks in the night while the angels are flying overhead with their superpowered abilities. When you look at something like Justice League Doom, which was a very great DC animated movie, where Batman is revealed to have had contingencies for all of the Justice League. He has a way to kill them all because he realizes that they're so powerful that somebody needs to stand on the side of humanity if they were able to go rogue. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a darkness. I'm talking about a directness. I'm talking about a statement of what it means to be the avenging angel of Gotham and where that takes you outside of Gotham. What does it mean to take that character with that type of trauma and put him in a world that's a little bit lighter, that's a little bit more spirited, that has a little bit more color, a little bit of a deeper, historic, heroic type of meaning? What does it mean to take that guy and put him up next to all of these characters that have been around living in these places for a very, very long time and who is at odds with not just the evil that they're at odds with, but who is at odds with their version of heroism, who's at odds with their version of goodness, who has a much more cynical, a much more brutal, a much more direct view of what it means to be a hero. I think that actually works better when you're looking at Batman in terms of his being juxtaposing him to the other heroes in this big universe.
And I might add our fourth piece of evidence.
Oh, wow.
It's a comment from Matt Reeves.
Exhibit D.
From FX.
Exhibit D!
From Special Effects Magazine. We might push to the edge of the fantastical, but we would never go into full fantastical. And we've seen the same Batman for 20 years. We've seen him in Gotham, but it's New York. Seen him in Gotham, but it's Chicago. This is an opportunity for us to see a Batman next to Superman that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Next to characters that, like you mentioned, brighten the world, have that dichotomy on screen that we have frankly not seen in live action ever. This is a chance to do something new and do something creative for the character. And I just feel like that's the place he should be.
Steve, how did you feel about Exhibit D? Did you get all into the D?
No, we can't comment on
Objection,
the
Your
We don't do
Honor.
double
Can we-
entendres in this court.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I please respond?
Mr. Holmes,
Because
I was
have
going to
an
ask
exhibit-
you if you had any
Tell us
thoughts
about
on
the
the
D.
matter.
I have an exhibit of my own. It's a quote, and then I would like to play a video that we will put in post.
But those
too,
will be
actually.
E and F then. So we're
Yes.
getting up there.
Quote, James Gunn, DC Studios co-chief, said about The Flash, it's one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen.
Objection,
Andy
relevance?
Muschietti did an amazing job. Now, if we remember, a little character called Batman, played by Ben Affleck, was shoehorned into this bubblegum pop art monstrosity. And for what reason? Now, if James Gunn is not honest enough with the fans about what is true quality, because I can assure you, everybody, actually, Mr. Lathan was also someone who lied about The Flash and had to circle back and say that this was indeed a monstrosity. Now, I bring all of this up to say that is what happens when you take Batman and you do not give him the care and do not let him grow and instead try to shoehorn him into something that obviously is not working. I would like another exhibit as well.
Can I object
Let
real
him
quick?
present his Exhibit G.
Sure.
I would like to go to one of the most classic, for the wrong reasons, videos of Batman vs. Superman, the Martha scene.
You're letting him kill Martha.
What does that mean? Why did you say that name?
Why did you say that name?
Okay? This is also what happens when you try to make Batman lift up all ships. We already have one Superman and Batman movie that did not work. And why did that happen? Because they tried to rush instead of letting the character stand on his own. Okay? Let Superman, Supergirl, and all of these characters prove that they can make it on their own before we try to draft in my client to paper over all of their inadequacies.
Your Honor, can I address Mr. Holmes directly, please?
You may.
Mr. Holmes, I have a quick question for you. Was James Gunn involved in either of those projects that you mentioned? The Flash and Batman vs. Superman. Yes or no? It's a simple yes or no question.
Can I respond?
Yeah, was he involved?
When we talk
simple
about
yes
the
or no
Flash,
question. Simple yes or no question, Mr.
Your
Holmes.
Honor, can I respond to his
Was
question?
he involved in the making of those films? Yes or no?
DC, when
Yes
the Flash
or
was
no?
coming out, James Gunn was named co-chief.
Yes or
and
no?
yes, he was. Was he not the president at the time? And
When you go to his credits,
everyone
is
that this
his
was one of the
name
greatest
in the credits?
So
Yes or
he was
no?
involved.
Mr. Lathan?
Was he not involved?
Your Honor, and there is a
Was he?
He was clearly not involved.
co-chief
These movies
of
were
DC
shot
when the Flash
before
was
he
released?
even got there. These movies, one movie that
Then
we're
why
talking
did he say
about
it was
was
the best
shot a
superhero movie of all time?
decade a decade
Gentlemen,
before.
gentlemen,
Movie
we're
came out in
not
2016.
litigating the
It came
past.
out in 2016.
Gentlemen, we're not litigating the past. We're
I was
litigating the
working
future.
at TMZ. It was like 10 years before. What are you talking about?
Mr. Ahlman,
What does James gonna have to do with any of that?
Well, so
Would you like to talk about
I
Tim
want to
Burton?
ask you a question,
Yeah.
Mr. Lathan and Mr. Adeniran. Why did your client lie to the general public about the Flash?
Well, we were lied to. So this is what I would say is
And you perpetuated that lie.
I feel
perpetuated that lie.
feel like everybody was lied to.
Yeah. So what I would say about that is like, look, the Flash is terrible. And the Flash in and of itself stands as one of the low points in superhero movies. I'll also tell you is that James Gunn had nothing to do with the Flash. And it doesn't matter how opposing counsel tries to tie him to a movie that he had nothing to do with creatively or from an executive
not
standpoint.
marketing the
Mr.
movie?
Lathan,
do
do you
it.
mind if I just ask a question for the sake of clarity here?
Please.
If that's the case, and if Mr. Gunn had nothing to do with it, and despite his hosannas for the film, it bears no responsibility for it,
Yes.
this crime against cinema.
Yeah.
Why then is he hiring Andy Muschietti to direct his Batman movie, The Bold and the Brave?
Because the reason why this is happening, and I'll be honest with you, is because Andy Muschietti, as a director, is very talented, very gifted. I'm sure you guys have seen the It movies. I was watching one not too long ago. The reality is that The Flash was a failure, and the DCEU, should I say, was a failure of not necessarily the individual filmmakers involved. It was a failure of the vision of one man. It's very upsetting I have to say this. It was a failure of the vision of Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's vision is the reason why a lot of the movies that you see in the DCEU didn't live up to what they were supposed to be. Andy Muschietti is a director that has bona fides, that has made films that people have loved, and has a very clear vision on the Batman. Very clear vision on Batman. What I would say is James Gunn allowing him to exist in the creative space that is more freeing and less encumbered by the Snyderverse is James Gunn recognizing that talent and bringing him back. There are not very many good movies that exist in the Snyderverse, and that unfortunately has to do with the heavy-handed way, the heavy-handed visual tone, the heavy-handed storytelling, the heavy-handed production schedules that existed along with the Snyderverse.
Mr.
May I
Ahlman,
respond very quickly to Mr. Lathan?
certainly.
According to Andy Muschietti, quote, he said this earlier this year, I've had conversations with James Gunn about the story concept, but we haven't talked since before Superman began filming. This is in regards to his Batman film. Now, what scares me about this is that James Gunn is trying to be the father of two Batmen, but he's ignoring one to show favor to the successful, the Batman, almost $1 billion at the box office. It seems like to me, James Gunn has too much on his plate, especially trying to helm Superman along with an entire studio.
And this is precisely our concern.
Jomi, Van, does James Gunn simply have enough time to steward this ship?
James Gunn has definitely enough time to steward the ship, but I guess my question would be, if you're worried about whether or not James Gunn has enough time to steward the ship, how could you not be concerned that Matt Reeves has enough time when you're not getting another sequel to the movie in 5 years? They're going to be kids that were freshmen in high school when the Batman came out, and they're going to be sophomores in college when the sequel drops. So if you're telling me that you don't understand how James Gunn has enough time to do it, your guy's taking 5 years. Your movie has been delayed twice. Do you know what when a delay happens in Hollywood? You know what that is? It's death to the studio. It's death to the character. Death to the momentum. The movie's been delayed twice. It got delayed this year, that year. Boom. It's like Euphoria season 3. I'm telling you, you guys.
Well, that won't happen.
Well, exactly, right? So if you're concerned with whether or not Gunn can do it, this is the only thing Matt Reeves is working on. It's taken 5 years. 5 years.
Mr. Ahlman, I believe we're ready for closing arguments.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, you have closing arguments.
Thank you. Today, you've heard a lot of arguments, but I want to take it back to the simplicity of the character. The bat, the man, the gun. Okay? Now, my child has been through a lot. All right? His parents gunned down by Mr. Joe Chill. And I'm sorry, but I don't want Mr. Gunn to unload the blicky just because he wants to consolidate power under his umbrella. What we are really talking about is vision. I respect Mr. Gunn. He has made a lot of talented movies and TV shows. But at every single point in his career, he has always doubled down on the fact that it is important for directors to get their visions out there. He left his prior company, the MCU, because of the dysfunction of them greenlighting movies and greenlighting TV shows and shoehorning in characters and plot points that made no sense. But the minute he becomes the co-chief of DC Studios, he's trying to do the same thing to creators. I find that a little disheartening and very dubious. We are defending Mr. Reeves right now because we believe that he is the best home for this child. He has proven that he has a vision for what he wants for this character. It has made our company a lot of money at a time. If we're being very honest, they are in dire needs of it. He is quite literally the only superhero property. He is having the only superhero property at that company that is working. And at this point, I don't think Mr. Lathan and Mr. Adeniran have honestly given us a good enough reason and a good enough argument why we should uproot Batman Jr. just because Mr. James Gunn is the co-chief? No. He has Superman coming out, Supergirl, Creature Commandos, Peacemaker Season 2. He has a full plate. I believe that is in the best interest of not only Batman, but the best interest of the fans and the public at large, that we let artists make art. This might be Trump's America, but we have a hero in Gotham. And if you give it to Mr. Lathan and Mr. Adeniran, I'm very, very, very scared about what will happen. Thank you for your time.
Opposing counsel.
Well, I'd just like to say that the Batman 2022 movie was very successful. It actually made less money than Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. Almost $100 million less. So you might want to stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay. Thank you, Judge CR. Thank you to opposing counsel for your spirited debate. Thank you to the fans out there for listening to this. Listen, I think we would all agree that Batman in this world remain the most valued superhero property DC has in its movie-making history. Okay, Gotham is so rich in story and opportunity that some of the greatest filmmakers we've ever had have taken on the responsibility of shaping the narrative of Bruce Wayne. It's a very human story made of trauma, heroism, ingenuity, triumph, and family. The world of Gotham is a socio-economic morality tale that litigates every single aspect of superhero lore. The filmmaker that takes that mantle of storytelling has to create a world so rich, so powerful, that it has to simply be seen by everyone. It has to be seen when everyone wants it. It has to be available. It has to be seen by the obsessed fanboys. It has to be seen by the casual tag-alongs. It also has to be seen by the what are we doing here hyper negative critics. I'd argue that if a filmmaker at the helm can't craft that world, can't craft a world in Gotham that has to be seen, then he's a failure. He's unfit as a parent. Just so happens that we have a case study here, Your Honor. Lead opposing counsel, admitted to an audience of thousands of people that he didn't finish
Objection,
a key
Your Honor.
entry
Objection,
into Reeves'
Your
You can't
Honor.
object during
narrative.
closing arguments.
By not watching The Penguin, lead counsel Holmes
That was my twin.
has simply told you that Reeves' world, in his mind, don't got the juice, as he would say. Perhaps if it were set in Tokyo, he would have watched it. Batman and his world have to be must-see TV. They must be something that you cannot miss. I'd also tell you that lead counsel Holmes finished Peacemaker. He watched all of that.
Not willingly.
He watched all
Let me
of-
tell you, not willingly.
He finished Peacemaker. He watched that.
Not willingly.
He watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Attorney Holmes's watching habits are not what's up for debate here.
Sure.
Thank
But
you,
the
Your
watching
Honor.
habits of millions and millions and millions of other people are, and Batman deserves a world. Batman deserves a father that people will watch. He made a choice. I'm asking you to make a choice. I'm asking you to choose a home for Batman enveloped in love and importance where he will have a chance to grow with a father who doesn't love just filmmaking, but the art of comic book storytelling. Do something on this podcast that Batman might not do in real life. Send him home with a gun. We rest our case.
Send him home with a gun?
She wins.
Passionate,
You don't know Batman.
stirring oration from both sides. And it's been the honor of my long and illustrious career here on this bench to sit before these, honestly, like geniuses of modern jurisprudence.
Yes. Some might say.
Heavy is the cloak that I wear. I find myself, on one hand, I have the soul of an artist. And I want to see Batman in the hands of a capable filmmaker who's given time, given patience, given all the resources he needs to see his project come to fruition. If I was only judging on behalf of a child, perhaps Mr. Reeves would have an argument. But we're talking about millions of Batman fans, and they need food. They need to be fed. And 5 years is too long to wait, especially when you consider how many damn comic books there are just sitting there that you could just punch into Final Draft and say, here's the Batman script. It really begs belief why Matt Reeves is taking this long. I almost wonder if he is using Warner Brothers Discovery, one of my most beloved tech corporations and entertainment conglomerates, as an ATM for personal problems. I won't allow it. And that is why I must rule in favor of Team Gunn.
What's we out of here? Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's that
But
meant
my
something to me.
verdict is not final.
Meant something to me.
Ultimately, the people must decide.
Mm.
So Jomi will throw onto social media the final decision, and we'll meet back here maybe in 9 years, like the couple from Before Sunrise, and we'll talk about who was right and who was wrong. In any case, gentlemen, it's been a privilege to watch you orate.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Long awaited. after teasers, after rumors, after talk, a more robust Sinners trailer is upon us. Sinners is the movie that is due in a couple of months from Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. Really, the movie is from Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, was shot down in Louisiana, and looks to be a film that is about some sort of vampire attack on some people down there in my rural home of Baton Rouge. Rural. I can never say that word. Rural.
Like a dog.
Rural. Full trailer's out. Chuck, what did you make of it?
This is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I'm super excited. Coogler is one of my favorite directors, just period. I really like the trailer. It's really effective. I think we had known when this came out is being teased like it's a vampire movie, but it's set, it's a period piece. I think it's also, for my weebness, Coogler has kind of hinted that a lot of the action scenes are inspired by anime, so there's a lot of things I'm excited about. I am worried, though. I think it is a tall order for Michael B. Jordan, who I think is a phenomenal actor, to play twins. That is the thing that it's like, this movie is going to hinge on whether he can pull that off. I'm very anti same character playing twins in a movie.
Just in general, like there's never been a never good like actor.
No, they're fine. They're fine. It can happen, but there is a level where I'm just like, come on, I know they're not twins in
trying
real
to think.
life.
You got the Winklevoss twins in Social Network.
My go-to is Dead Ringers.
You have Dead Ringers. You have
Jack and Jill.
Trap, Lindsay Lohan.
You have Jack and Jill. You also have you have Tom Hardy.
Parent Trap is a good one, though.
You have Tom
Parent
Hardy
Trap is a good
one.
yeah.
In the movie where he plays the Cray brothers.
Yeah,
Legend.
Not twins, but in Sonic 3, Jim Carrey plays
his
Dr.
grandpa.
Robotnik and his grandpa.
Great
It's really
thing.
good.
So
Very
the interesting thing about the trailer itself to me is that I think that the trailer deepened a little bit what our understanding of the movie was going to be in terms of, we knew that the premise was vampire stuff, but in some of the teasers we had seen before, it didn't seem like they were really going towards that. They weren't hinting at that much in the trailers, which made me think that maybe they had done a bait and switch. But now in this one, we clearly see Haley Steinfeld's mouth full of blood. See other characters, their mouth full of blood. Michael B. Jordan and his brother and this group of people in Louisiana are fighting vampiric demons for some reason, in some way.
And there's also the question of the music, right? There's a quote in there that's like music opens up a portal or like, allows spirits to enter. So it's more than just vampires, I assume. There are other entities that could get themselves involved in this. My question, and this is my problem, I guess it's my problem with like all trailers now, is that I feel like we saw too much, man.
Yeah.
I feel like we saw too much, you know what I mean? Like with Haley covered in blood, like I assume, you always think like she's probably not going to be on the right side of Michael B. Jordan, but like I would have liked to see that in the theater and not the trailer, right? And then like toward the end, he's like, I don't think that's your brother. Like that's actually your brother in there. So I guess they end up facing off, and it's like, man, I would have liked to have got that twist in the movie versus watching it on my phone at 9 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday.
I think that there clearly is probably more going on than just that. I don't think they would. Like, I think Coogler's smart enough to not give away a twist like that in the trailer. So. I think what I like the most about this is the idea that they're still not like fully committing to the idea of capital V vampires. They're just like, all right, there might be like some sort of like accidental seance happening with the music at this party or some type of like, like evil presence that's happening, and people have like that certain like 30 days of night glow in their eyes, and you don't see vampire fangs, you see these types of just like ominous looks in people's eyes that still look otherworldly but not monstrous, if that makes sense. I really like the idea of kind of playing with something that's not entirely like the verbiage of genre, but still being genre, if that makes sense. To know that these aren't actual vampires, or maybe these aren't actual demons, but there's something different. There's some new type of fun twist on a sort of demonic presence in a horror movie that I think seems pretty fun. It seems like it's got a lot of action. It's got a lot of like scary things. It's got some humor. I think I shit myself. Like, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of got it all.
I will also say this film, if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like there was a bidding war around it when like the script was going around. So to all of our points, I do think that there is some type of twist or there's some type of element that they are keeping away.
Yeah.
That a lot of people believe is going to be like one of those horror reasons or twist reasons where you're like, no, just go see the movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's already, I was reading that he's been working with like Nolan because he's like shooting this in 65 millimeter. And like, there's a lot of different things where I'm like, oh, he's trying to make a huge action movie that honestly, we don't see that much, especially when it's two black men in Coogler and Michael B. Jordan really getting to do at this level. So I'm just excited to see that if they can pull that type of spectacle.
Well, I think the thing that excites me about it, to your point, is that this is an original idea from an original mind, and they got it up in a time frame that tells you everybody, to your point, believed that they had the goods. You look at the movie, script is coming together. They get out there, the bidding war happens, and then by July of last year, the movie's shot. I knew somebody that was on it, and he was talking about how they were working. It's finished. And then they get it to us by basically spring of 2025. That is old-fashioned, traditional movie making. We have an idea. We have a director that has the juice. We have a star that has a good relationship with the director. Script is written. Pictures are made. Studio gives the money. We don't fuck around for a year and a half with casting. We get it together and we get it up, and then we come and we shoot the fucking movie. And to be honest with you, when you look at all the things that they're combining in the film, the trailer looks great. It looks scary. It looks sexy. The movie is dripping with culture. It looks like it could be a lot of fun.
If I had told you guys that a vampire killing movie directed by a black man and starring a black man was coming out in April 2025, like maybe even like 12, 18 months ago, you'd have been like, oh, cool, we're finally getting that Blade movie. How nuts is it that we're getting Michael B. Jordan kill vampires before we get Mahershala killing vampires?
That's actually the interesting thing that I kind of think about this trailer. Like, you mentioned a good point, Charles. Like, I keep thinking about this with the Marvel spin on it because he's got Black Panther 3 after this, Ryan Coogler. And then we don't really know. I'm thinking that this is going to actually be a taste of the type of director that he's going to be after he graduates from the MCU. Yeah. This is going to be the thing that, like, after Nolan does his Dark Knight, then we get his Interstellar. Then we get his real big things that he's got on his mind. And this seems to be a little taste of, like, hey, Ryan Coogler might be the next biggest big thing that we have.
Well, he's already there.
No, but it's the fact that, like, after he's done with the MCU, then he's got pretty much everything, like studio goodwill, the efficiency that he has to make a movie like this, and all of that goodwill can just be whatever he wants. And to know that he's got that creative vision and technical skill set like a Nolan, I think it's incredibly promising.
Also, he hasn't directed a bad movie yet, if we're being honest.
I don't like some Nolan.
Yeah, he hasn't. Like, yeah.
Fruitvale Station, Creed, both Black Panthers, this. I'm like, even if Sinners isn't 100% what we want, I yet have not seen a Coogler script or movie where I'm like, there wasn't a lot of thought in this.
No, yeah,
like
for
even
sure.
Black Panther 2, I was like, this was well thought out.
Early on in the visuals that you were getting for the movie, people were noting about how sparse the trailers were, the teaser trailers were, how you really couldn't get a sense of story. You really couldn't get a sense of very much about the film, the narrative at all from that. And people had complaints about that. But if what I'm hearing from you guys is what you really mean, is that you guys preferred it like that. Do you think that that would have been enough to get people out to the theaters to go see a movie that is not based in any kind of IP? It's just Ryan and Michael doing something cool.
I think word of mouth is very, very like underrated nowadays. I mean, there are a ton of movies.
Because there's so much, not to cut you off, I apologize, but because there's so much pressure put on the first weekend.
Maybe, but like everything, everywhere, all at once, Parasite, like those are films that I wasn't like looking at my theater like I'm gonna go tap in until I'm people are like, yo, you got to go watch this movie. I go watch. I'm like, yo, this is special. This means something.
But once again, not to cut you off, but just to make sure that we put it in context, those films didn't have huge wide releases
Like
the
this
first
movie
week will to make people to they're not as high leverage. They can slow burn.
Is this movie high leverage?
It'll be high leverage in that it'll have a mega wide release.
Okay, but
Right.
I mean, it only costs $90 million to make. You know,
I
what
get
mean?
it.
They're going to make that back within the first month or so. But you're saying like that opening weekend means
What I'm saying
like,
is that with Parasite or Everywhere, or Everything Everywhere All at Once, those movies are films that were smaller films that got released to markets as they got more popular.
okay.
So, but with this movie, the slow burn, if you said that to a studio head, you might shrivel their nuts a little bit because they're gonna be like, we don't have time for a slow burn. We trying to get people in the 3,000 theaters on the first
Right.
weekend.
I think that this is probably the perfect evolution of a director in the Marvel pipeline to highlight his skill set in a very specific thing, like the Fruit Veils of the world, giving him a Black Panther, knowing that he can handle that big scale production budget, manage all of those perfect things, do a second one, and then come in the middle of his trilogy to sort of make something that's, again, I made the mistake of calling this a small budget movie. It's not. It's obviously got a lot of money behind it, but it's the fact that it's efficiently made, quickly done, a fraction of the budget that he's used to now, and still can be even relatively good. I think that's kind of a miracle with the amount of pipeline and workflow that he's used to now. And now the fact that when he's probably going to be, like, we don't know if he's ever going to be done with Marvel, but assuming that he's not going to be making something immediately in the MCU after Black Panther 3, he'll be doing his own thing for a while. And this is kind of the perfect trajectory to be like, okay, now he is a name. We're sold, I'm at least sold on Sinners without sight unseen, knowing that it's Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan again, because they've done several great movies before.
Yeah.
All of those people are stars. Coogler's a star in his own right. And now any movie that has his name attached, you're going to go see, regardless of whether or not it's with IP. So
Mike's
I think
been
IP,
in every movie Coogler has directed.
I was about to
Exactly.
say like
Yeah.
it's basically like Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan
Yeah.
at this point.
Well, my last question for you, Jomi. Would you let Haley Steinfeld turn you into a vampire?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. I got to be honest. No, but
You're a liar, Jomi.
nah,
You're a
I'm
liar.
not really.
we just took you
Like
to court. Now you're lying
into-
again.
I'm not really into the, like I like garlic bread, you know what I'm saying? I can't have that if I become a vampire. It's a whole thing. Would I think about it heavily? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? It would be like the LeBron decision. I'd have to like call on my family, discuss with you guys, you know what I'm saying? And just like
Call up cameras,
really,
make the decision.
ultimately like really dive deep into it because it would be tempting. I'm
What
not
are
gonna lie
all
to
the
you.
vampire weaknesses again?
I mean,
wooden
cross-
stakes, right?
Silver-
Stakes. The sun.
The
The
sun.
sun is the main one.
I
the
like
sun
going
is,
outside.
The
Yeah,
sun is
like-
the only one that's consistent.
Yeah.
The rest of these not really consistent. The crosses are not consistent at all.
yeah.
Really, the only one that's really consistent of all of them, I guess Silver's pretty consistent.
Silver's
Yeah.
kind of consistent.
Wait, I
the sun
thought
is
Silver
iffy.
was werewolves, right?
Silver's vampires too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
Because
Oh,
remember,
wait, no,
Blade,
that's
you know,
werewolves.
Blade,
Is that werewolves?
Blade hit
so.
no
We can
Blade.
look it
No,
up.
Blade will have Silver.
Oh, we had the bullets.
Yeah, the bullets.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Silver's vampires too. It's like the only thing that's really consistent, like super consistent, is the sun.
Yeah.
I also my one fear. This is another fear I have for the movie. If the movie, because now that we saw a little bit of Haley and we know she's a vampire, I'm like, is this a movie about the milk turning black men into vampires?
That's fun.
Like, is that the metaphor?
That's fun.
Hold on.
fun.
Because I
Hold
mean, if
on.
you think about that time,
Yeah.
the best way to get
20s?
really, actually, even now, the best way to get brothers into there where you can bite their necks
Wow.
is to send a Haley Steinfeld in there. Bro, the whole NBA would be vampires. The
Tough.
whole NFL. Saquon Barkley
I mean,
would
the whole
definitely be
NBA
a
kind
vampire.
of vampires already, if we be
Well,
honest.
Saquon Barkley would be they would be vampires. Everybody would be vampires.
Put him in the sun.
Jesus
Everybody.
Christ.
That might be why they, bruh.
Would you let Mia Goff turn you to a vampire?
Oh, yeah, I'm already there.
All right. Well,
Can't nobody turn
Me-
me into a vampire, bro.
That's not. Yeah, it's not really.
Yeah.
I got too much going on the human side
Too much going on.
Yeah,
Too much
man.
going on, Joe.
Too much going on, bro.
Fuck out of here.
I mean, if you a vampire,
You
can't
put him
come
in a
out.
suit and he's
I gotta
like
I gotta wear an umbrella everywhere. Like I like to sound like going to the beach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like being out on a boat somewhere.
What about
with the
eternal
sun.
life and like, you know,
Nah,
all
end
the
up
sex
like
that
end
you
up like
would
no.
want?
You, I mean, but it's only at night though.
That's what I'm
So,
saying. End up like
you know what I'm saying?
Nosferatu. I'm good.
It's
bro.
crazy.
I don't know. I could be a night person.
All right, that is enough. Well, look, Sinners, we're all excited.
Yeah.
We're gonna
excited.
cover it on the Midnight Boys.
Most definitely.
Of course.
Most definitely.
Charles, we should start. What else do you want to cover? Like, throw out some everybody throw out one non-fandom thing they want to cover this year.
All right, this. I think we should wait. We should do a Severance episode.
I
bro.
agree.
Hell yes.
We should do a Severance episode.
I agree. I don't think we should do a Severance episode. I think we should do the whole show. But like, I agree. I watched it. Severance got
It's
that.
good.
you seen the
It's
first
crap,
season?
bro.
Yeah, I've seen the first season.
Cooks.
So it's like, so Severance got
television.
that juice. So Severance got that juice. Think about it. You guys think about whether or not you want us to cover Severance. Everybody
They're
else is
absolutely gonna want us to cover Severance.
Great.
Okay, well, we'll cover it then. I don't give a fuck. All right,
Wait,
that's
y'all
enough.
didn't give me your what's y'all's shit?
Is Jurassic World Rebirth count?
No.
You're
I mean,
bad. Wow,
I don't like- I
that
don't
was
like
crazy.
Jurassic.
Scarlett Johansson.
Jurassic Worlds kind of suck.
Yeah, no, they
kinda suck,
absolutely
bro.
suck.
First, okay, we had this discussion. The first one is
Bad.
okay. That's not true. The
The ride
first
is
Jurassic
cool.
World is not bad.
The first
the
one
last
was okay.
two, the last two, awful.
I didn't even see it.
Also,
God awful.
here's the thing: I'm not beating the weeb charges, but Flying Lotus, not Flying Lotus, White Lotus.
Oh, White
is
Lotus.
good.
White
Oh,
Lotus is great.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: honestly, we should just have a spin-off episode where we're just gonna give y'all once a month. We're just gonna hit a little bit of the
One for us.
One for
one for
us.
us, you know.
One for us.
Yeah.
That is a wrap. Program reminders. Tomorrow, Button Mash returns to talk about the new season of Mythic Quest. Later this week, House of R gives you their pod celebrating the 15th anniversary of Ex Machina. And on Friday, Mid Edition returns to talk about the Disney Plus premiere of The Friendly Neighborhood Spider. You guys, seriously, give it up to our special guest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris Ryan. Okay, seriously, didn't have to come do this. He looked out for us. Our producers are Aleya, SOB Zenieris, and Jonathan, the Batman Kermah. Jomi, the explainer Adeniran on social. Additional production from Arjuna, Ramgopal. Charles, take us out. This should be interesting.
Batman Family Court is adjourned. Thank you to the Midnight Writers and Mob. We respect CR, Your Honor. But Team Reeves was robbed.